more of what it became was we were becoming a quick and light team that was able to go to places that law enforcement could not go until there was sign of a missing person in the area.
So go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us your story.
My name is Russell Wagner, and this is my account from the 4th of July flood here in the Hill Country. For me, it started, the story of it started on the July 3rd when my wife and I were talking about what our plans were for the 4th. We've got, at the time, our children were 6 and 4. We were speaking about how we weren't going to go to the Lewis Hayes Park the night of the 4th. Fredericksburg has a parade the 4th of July morning, so our plan was to go there. But the morning of the 4th, I woke about 3 o'clock in the morning to heavy thunderstorms and just, again, a heavy rainfall. Just like everybody else, in the Hill Country at that same time, prayed, thank God for the rain that we were getting, let it just soak in. And then, kind of chucked off the fact that we're not going to do the parade that morning and we'll just take a relaxful, 4th of July at the home. Laid back in bed. And then woke up to a dream of being in the river and a tidal wave coming down upon me and carrying me to rooftops miles away. When I shared my story of that with my wife that morning at breakfast, she told me she didn't sleep well. She had just these thoughts and feelings of all these children that had been made fun of and just picked on, and she just wept all night for kids being hurt, for hurt children, and she wept all night. And again, we were just unaware, thinking that was just some weird coincidences that we had going on. My family has some property on Johnson Creek, so we went to take the kids to go look at the river. Again, just a typical heavy rain kind of a thing you do here. Go see how much the water rose, and then, go about. As I was down at the river, one of our neighbors was there, and he mentioned what had happened, how the Hunt store was gone, or the post office was gone, a slab pretty much. The Hunt store had been destroyed, and that the camps were missing children. Something kind of clicked in me there where I don't want to say I forgot that the family was in the car, but I immediately drove over to what I noticed was the first responder station, and asking where I can help. Since it was so soon, they didn't know where to send volunteers. The Ingram Elementary School was kind of taking people there to help out a little bit, just kind of collecting things. I'm not good at waiting and standing still, especially kind of when things like this were going on. So I went and grabbed cases and cases of water, canisters of fuel, started dropping them off to people that, law enforcement, again, firefighters, anybody I could that I thought would possibly need these things at the moment. Just no one was telling me where to go, so I was doing what I think I could do. Ran into a friend from church doing a similar thing. We kind of came up with an idea or a plan for what we would do Saturday morning. I took off that from there, went over to the boat ramp down below the lake house and what is now Wahoo's restaurant. Walked from there up to Bear Creek, crossing on the north side of the bank along the Arcadia Loop, the riverside. The amount of debris, the amount of RV campers, Game Boys, things that were just, brand new packages of food and supplies from groceries, or the grocery store, from Solo Cup. Everybody was gearing up for their 4th of July. And it just didn't happen for them. I don't know how long I was there that Friday on the river, but the next Saturday morning I met up with my friend from church. We went up. We left early because we knew that they were going to be shutting off road passway through on a Highway 39. So we left early before they thought we could. We were in my 4x4, so we weren't worried about getting stuck or road debris on anything. We pushed past and continued driving up 39 until we got past populated areas. There was already law enforcement and search and rescue crew in the area, and so our mind and our mindset and thought on it was, let's go somewhere where we're going to be useful. We went up past the river inn and made our way back to Mystic. Searching below Mystic was God was preparing my heart for everything. We didn't come across anything there. Piles were too big to handle by hand. We weren't able to carry chainsaws across the rivers at this time. There was too much water flow. You were barely able to cross by foot to get to areas to find that would be possible interest for firefighter and search and rescue crew to come in later. The beautiful thing, though, I can say about Mystic being there was you were immediately aware of where those children are. You saw the arts and crafts that they were doing the night before, making angels, writing out scripture verses, friendship bracelets, tags for friends, for everything. How what was inlaid on their water bottles, on their trunks. Again, the Lord was just preparing my heart. We had friends that had daughters that were at Mystic, and it felt, as me as a father of young children, of where I needed to be. The next Sunday, we met up with some other friends, and Michael Anglin and some other buddies as well. We were trying to figure out what our game plan would be for the next few days and weeks. Sunday had a little rain in it. The river was rising again, so it kind of pushed us off, or at least me off from the river, from searching. I would say it was a blessing from the Lord in disguise. My wife was going to join me that day, and this is, other than wanting to give her the ability to help, and not give her, but let her have that time and let her show that she wanted to, or do what she wanted to there. And to do that, I was somewhat against it already, but knowing that I didn't want her to have to feel or carry what was to come of it. We met up the next Monday morning, or that Monday morning, after continuous crews and people getting together and figuring out and creating these new volunteer groups that we would have. We met at the Cross Kingdom Church in Ingram that morning, about 6:45. Logged in with the Ingram Fire Department and made our way down towards Howdy's along the North Bank. The major struggle that the entire search and rescue crew had was getting onto the south bank of the river. There was direct and immediate access on the north bank. We were, not to say overpopulating it, but at the same time, as you would walk past anything or that would be suspicion, and again, not like any extra hand wasn't welcome or to join in and do anything, but there's a point when you know that it's in good hands and you can move on. And again, there was a lot of workers and helpers on that north bank. A friend of ours, Daniel Edestein, and I are real estate agents, and I hate to say that that's what helped us to, not hate to say, but that's what helped us to get across by looking up into the people on the south bank that were owned properties there, to be able to get in contact with the owners in a way of just trying to ask. And so Daniel and I sent out multiple messages and calls to people that had waterfront property on the south side to see if we could get access. About, I'd say, a 12 o'clock or 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, we were finally got confirmation from a property owner that we could go through his property. Waiting for law enforcement to give us the go-ahead was taking too long. So we took it under our own initiative to go over to the south side. Upon getting over there, or prior to that, we had come up into the contact of cadaver dog handlers, and we were able to retrieve their cell phone numbers and everything. And again, they were aware of what our plan was to do on the south bank. And again, it was more of what it became was we were becoming a quick and light team that was able to go to places that law enforcement could not go until there was sign of a missing person in the area. So, to say the least, within minutes of being over on that side, we had very well enough sign for us to be able to call a cadaver dog over. The cadaver dogs came over, they hit on multiple piles, which then brought the law enforcement, and then brought excavators and skid steers to help break these piles up. You would dig through the piles and the smell until you found a fish, but then you'd keep going because you don't know what was in them. We'd turn every pile over until it was down to the dirt. We found a pile that they say they maybe pulled 5 bodies out of down below, again, by the Arcadia Loop, or on the south side bank of Arcadia, by the Bear Creek crossing where it had blown out. And again, it was a brush pile, debris pile, the size of a 2-story house. And again, there was nothing really that we could do with our hands besides walk around and make sure that we were in the right area by using our sense of smell and marks from cadaver dogs. We continued on. Actually, we took a break on the Wednesday. At least I did for a bit. Tried to go to the zoo in San Antonio with my family, and I have so much respect for anyone in our military as far as what they've possibly experienced with PTSD, because I had only one place in my heart and my mind where I needed to be, and it was on the river trying to help bring somebody home. Michael Anglin called me and said that he had spoken with someone who thought that there was an area of where our skill set to say the means was needed. It hadn't been searched. Law enforcement didn't seem to be giving it any thought or concern yet, because they were working in their sense of a grid pattern all the way down, which is very effective and proficient, just somewhat can be time consuming. Michael went to scout that area after walking around. He called me and said, we've got the go ahead for to be able to go check it out and tell me what you think. Again, I did a quick drive by for the area, and I said, yeah, it looks just exactly what we need to be. That Thursday morning when we met up at 7:00 below the bank there, Francisco Lemos and Thompson Drive, there was just something different that day. The way that we had the property owner's permission, the way that Michael got permission from law enforcement to be able to be in there, the cadaver dogs being right on call in hand that were going to be nearby, Texas A&M's river crew giving us again authority to do what we were doing, and it was just going in and just trying to find people. We started that morning at 7:45, I believe. As we left our cars, they're parked off the edge of the Francisco Lemos Bridge. We had maybe walked a half a mile, a quarter of a mile in on the south bank, and just about maybe a quarter mile back. Well, not a quarter mile back, that would put us right back where we were. But back probably, a quarter mile in, and then an eighth of a mile back in towards the Francisco Lemos Bridge. I would say a feeling of being pulled or just drawn, and as just a magnet being pulled was the way that the direction I felt I was being led. Michael called out my name, and from the tone of his voice, and I knew exactly what it was. I was 15 feet away from him, just on the other side of a tree, and by the time Yeah. I made my way up. Michael had this feeling to kind of move over a yellow kayak. And upon doing so, he had seen a hand and a camo onesie. It was a 4-year-old boy. I say that in my immediate thought when I saw it, in the sense that I had a 4-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old boy at home. I would only imagine that I knew what the age line on that was. A feeling of sorrow came over me immediately, until another gentleman who joined us that morning, Don Duran, came around the corner and looking up to Michael and I on this top of this pile, saying, and just looking like, again, knowing what was happened, but waiting for us to acknowledge to him what had happened. And when I looked to him, I said, "We found a little boy." I haven't seen someone react in that much joy in that day, because he dropped his chainsaw, his tool bag, and just praised Jesus. We did it. And we did. We had brought in closure to a family. And that's what I was there to do on the river. We continued I went up, broke off the pattern, or off of our group, up to the stream, up to the Diedrich Center. Was just north of the bank from us. Waited for law enforcement to come by. They had come in. By the time I had made it with police officers to the scene, Michael and Dawn had cleared out the area fairly well. A path for everybody to get in. And just as we'd been doing before, we hung around until law enforcement told us that we were free to continue on with what we were doing. They had that area secured and under their control. I split off from Michael with a gentleman, a buddy who had been with us for 2 days. His name was Stan. He and I made our way all the way to the Francisco Lemos Bridge, where we had, on our way there, had found just multiple signs of things. Campers still upside down, underwater. Trucks fully submerged underwater. No signs or capable way of us being able to say that they were clear. Again, the best that we can do for that was to pass that information on back to law enforcement when we ran into them, marking it with a geopin and taking photos. We went back upstream to the dam below Guadalupe Street. Upon there, we've located 2 more bodies that law enforcement heard pulling out. We found them in a bamboo pile, again, the size of a 60 by 80 barn. You wouldn't imagine that much bamboo had been on the river until you see it in a pile that size. Odor is what drew us to the pile. And again, police officers were already on scene in the area, so calling them over wasn't a trouble at this time. Again, they had relieved us upon coming back at another time that was I noted that they had found 2 more people in it. Friday went on. No, I think we had rain on Friday. Between
long stretch on Friday.
Yeah, that was Saturday where we went down below. Was that not Saturday?
It was Friday, and Saturday got rain.
That was Friday when we found the camera reel?
Yep.
The 30 millimeter. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and then it was Friday. Friday we continued our ways downstream. At this point, we were hoping to repeat the same thing again. Just to do something to bring closure, to bring someone home. We found, of course, along the whole time, we would find items, personal effects, things that, family photos. Again, Michael found a slideshow reel, water bottles, lunch boxes, just all kinds of small personal effects, things that had names on them. Friday, that was about the most of what our group was able to find as we continued to make our way down into Center Point. We were, again, at the mercy of things being too much to handle for simple man and needed machinery and equipment to take over. But as we continued there, and this being just about a week after the effects, the presence of those things in law enforcement and cadaver dogs had increased quite a bit. From the first Friday and Saturday to being able to go half a mile to a mile without seeing a single person walking on the river, to you couldn't go probably 100 yards without running into a form of law enforcement. And not to say that they weren't there, they were just in other places doing the jobs that they were being assigned to. I think that's about all I have. I don't know how to end it organically.
Thank you for your leadership on this, and I know that once I contacted you and you actually got us in, I know the events wouldn't have turned out the same way without our crew that we had. It was leaders doing what they needed to do. So.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. It was. That's God had His hand in every bit of this, because I don't know. It seems to me, or if I made it seem. It was just so amazing to how things pieced together, how people came together, how willing people were to do things, to help, to stand up, to step up, to get in the truck and go on and come along. When or you'd see certain, I don't know, people, there was no one standing on the sidelines in this scenario. Everybody was there to help and to do what they could to start the initial restoration of our community. And yeah, to help bring lost and loved ones home. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing this, Russell. I appreciate it.
Yeah.